Okay, is that working?
Yeah, put that on.
Okay. Get Colleen set up too then. And I want to thank Sheila for what she said. It really does make a difference to have a lender there. It gives you as Colleen pointed out, it gives you a buffer kind of where they don't feel that you're just putting pressure on them to try and get information or whatever the case may be. Everybody needs to know, unless they're a cash buyer, what their financing situation is going to be. So to have someone sitting there that can help. And Sheila has been wonderful with us. She talked about, 6 months later, we get a phone call and she had talked to these people at the open house and sends them back to us, and, we sell them a home. So it's really valuable. Okay, we're going to start on page 7.6. And as you look at that, nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. Why do we begin the session in open houses with this quote? Why do you think? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Think of all the ways that you can get leads. Okay. First of all, there's the 36 touch program in your database. You can get leads by phone calls, by door knocking. There are any number of ways that you develop leads, and you should use them all. But the benefit of an open house is that the people are coming to you. Okay. They have an interest in seeing that home. And so, how many phone calls would it take to generate 20 or 30 people coming to an open house that you get from an open house just by advertising on MLS, putting out your signs and being prepared, door knocking in the neighborhood, those kind of things. For us, it is the best way to get the largest number of people over a short period of time that we can develop leads from. So that is what we feel the benefit of open houses is.
Or, and don't forget this may be one of the most important things to remember, because I don't know why people hear it before I start clicking to me. A lot of people were thinking about selling their house in the neighborhood, especially, or coming in to check you out. So that's the most important thing. I really changed my mindset last year on this, that I am representing that house, not trying to find out what else they want to buy. I know a lot of, talk to the seller or talk to the agent if you're representing somebody else's listing, and find out ahead of time at least two cool things that the owner likes about their house. And that's what you're going to say over and over to people. You have this to show them this, you got this other thing to show them. And then leave them alone, let them look at the house and not put pressure. But that's listings. Open houses, a lot of agents don't realize that people are looking at you as whether or not they want to use you as their listing agent. Greg and I have gotten appointments for listings from doing open houses. And you're not going to hear that very often. They think that we're all there doing open houses to pick up leads, buyer leads. Neighbors are looking at who would represent their house, how they represent it.
So, comes to my mind when it comes to open houses. Like last year when I would do open houses, almost everybody came with an agent. So that started making me feel like, why am I doing these open houses? Everyone's coming with, an agent. And now I think it's changing because I've done a few lately that it's not that way. So do you market to those that come and write down, yes, I have an agent?
No,
right?
Yeah, legally you cannot talk to people that have an agent except give them information about the house. But no, you do not. If they say they have an agent, then you back right off. But I always ask them, if their agent isn't with them, then we will always ask, or I'll even have them write down on where they check in who their agent is, so that we hear from that agent, then we can kind of put a face and a name together. I mean, if they're really interested, we love to talk to their agent because we want to see their level of interest. We want to do whatever we can to help with information to that agent. But no, you can't talk to them directly. That's not legal.
I have somebody now that I'm giving I'm terrible about follow-up. There's one guy that used to do really well in this office, Wayne Richards, and he says the same thing. You're either coming in and you're ready to buy from me today, or we made a connection. I'm going to sell you something else right away. Otherwise, my attention span isn't on that.
Well, and that's one reason why we're a good team, because I have,
Much better.
in many cases, follow up. For give you an example, we had an open house on a listing in Provo, and a guy came through, indicated that he may want to sell his house a few months down the road. So I stayed in close touch with him. And then we ended up selling his house. The buyers, ended up representing the buyers, the seller, the buyer, and then the buyers have since given us 2 more houses. So there you go. Just, I did follow up because I could tell he was one of those that was looking for an agent to represent his house. He was interested in that house to buy for one of his kids, but he was really also, and ended up being mostly interested in an agent. And we sold his house for what, 1.2.
But honestly, the marketing that was done with him. Greg simply just stayed on the phone. He would check in. How's it going? How's it coming? Because he had told Greg to sell his house. So he touched base with him. The marketing that you're talking about.
No, I didn't mean marketing. I
Okay.
was asking about if people have agents, don't have agents, you know, how you handle that. That's all I.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question to hers. When you say like legally we can't talk to them, does that mean like you don't talk to them about like being an agent and buying, or does it mean like literally like don't speak to them? Literally. Or is it more just like, oh, like
Yeah, we're happy to have an agent. Here's the information sheet on the house. I'd be happy to answer any questions I can about the house. But you're not there to pick them up as a new client. That's not the idea. You cannot interfere with another agent's relationship. And you wouldn't want anybody to do that to you either. But that's in the code of ethics, yeah.
My experience of doing open houses, people are dodging you. Or even when you ask them, like I've even had sheets where I'm like, you have an agent, like check in. And people will sometimes lie. So
Yeah.
They have an agent just to get you off their back.
Sure.
And even investigating, kind of poking them, you're like, they're lying to me. How do you guys go about that? I feel like
They would learn. You know, there's going to be lots of open houses that you don't get anything from. Like I said, you find, okay, my favorite example was the second house I ever sold. I was on Henry 52, and it was a brand new construction house. Who's going to get anything off a brand new construction house? So she put me down that house. It was not staged. And I sat on the floor week after week. Put out all my 20 signs. Nobody came, or one person came. I think it was at least 4 weeks. On week 5, the only person that came through was an unknown buyer. And that was the $70,000 house. So was it worth 5 weeks to get whatever that turned out to be, $8,000 or something? Was my share of that? You bet it was. In my mind, I always tell myself, "Oh, that's another day." So I'll do 4 more and I'll get that. Somebody's going to come through. If you do, what is it? Peter always says, if you do something at a high level, time and time again, you're going to make the star. You just gotta be there willing. When people come through the door, I try to stay by a window that I can see when they're coming, and I'm always up and giving them. Ask them how they found the house, because that way you will know whether they found it from the signs or from they already know the information. It's all online. And then ask them if they like you to give them a tour, or they like to see it themselves. Most people want to see it themselves. Get out of their way. They'll come back and see you at the end. Great way to talk to them at the end too is ask them for feedback. If you're doing the open house for another agent, they're going to want that feedback from the day. What do people say about it? Because they want to tell their sellers something. So write that down. That gives you another chance to have that conversation with them. Most of the time, if you leave them alone and you stay near the kitchen, they're going to come back to you. They just do. People just tend to come back and they're going to have a question about the house. And if you approach it with just showing the house, all the houses that I was fortunate enough to sell to unrepresented buyers, they would walk up to me and just say, "I really like this house. How do I write about it?" "Oh, do you have an agent?" "No." "Fantastic. Would you like me to represent you and write the offer?" "Yes." And that's how it went. So how often does that happen? Let's say you do 10 open houses. It's going to happen. Or when they're all done, they tell you why this house isn't gonna work for them, and they don't have an agent. Then you can ask them, could I send you not other houses that are similar to this one as soon as they come on the market? If they say yes, you're golden. Make sure you show them something within Monday. Like that Monday.
Set up an alert. You all know how to do that.
Don't send it to them. Because if you send it to them, it's going to send them a bunch of garbage. Things that sometimes dealers don't send anything that you're supposed to, when they should not listen to them. Just look for something else to show them. Make sure you're in front of them that very week. They get more than a week away from you. They've gone to other open houses. They've talked to other agents now. But you're only going to connect with, a small amount. And once I let that expectation off of my shoulders, having to get people in every open house and walk away with leads, because I would go home very sad after a lot of open houses. You know you're going to go home. Out leads. But you're just getting that one. Go down the road. That's all you're looking for. And that's how you invest in these sales.
Well, just one thing I was going to say too is Greg and Colleen are very much, we just talk to people, like it's not about getting that lead, right? It's not about that. And so they're just genuinely nice to people and want to know about them, want to know why they're wanting to move, where they live now. And so by the time they've been in the house and we've all been super friendly to them, then they've opened up, and then their walls are down a little bit more. And anyway.
And the question that Colleen talked about, would we give them a property sheet, and would you like to go through the house on self-guided tour? Would you like us to accompany you? And most people just want to basically go through themselves. If you're hovering and always pointing out things, then you're probably pointing out things that are not of interest to them in reality. So like Colleen says, find a couple of things about the house that are kind of unique or fun that you can talk about, but you don't have to take them into every room. We never do that unless for somehow they request it or have lots of questions about it. Look, very few people, they want to go through themselves. And Colleen really helped me see this, that the women want to see the kitchen. They want to see, the master bedroom area. And what you want the people to do that come to your open house is to project themselves in that house. And that's why you've had your sellers take all of the family pictures off the walls and those kind of things to make it as neutral as you possibly can, so that people can project their own furniture, their own whatever into that house. And so if you're constantly hovering over them and trying to point things out, then you may be missing things that are important to them, or they may want to say, oh, okay, just let me out of here. So Colleen also has taught me that, and I don't always do it, that when people walk in the house, if there's a wow factor, if that's kind of house, you don't want to be standing there. You want to be off to the side and let them get the wow. Sometimes I tend to just start talking to people before they get the wow. But yeah. Yeah.
So this is the living room, and he's standing right there. They're now looking through Greg at their new living room.
Yeah.
And that makes them uncomfortable. And the people buying houses, it's an emotional connection. It just is. It's in the house. And he's been just being there, as he's looking at me. Now they've lost that moment. And if you do that, they'll come to you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah, if you take the mindset that we talked about, where you're not necessarily there looking for new leads, you're there to represent the home for the seller, then that takes a lot of the pressure off of you mentally, saying, oh my gosh, am I going to chase these people and sign them up on this house? It really does. It's an energy there that if you're comfortable in that house and you're there to sell the house, not just to look, or not principally to look for new clients, that comes across, and the people don't feel like you're, there to pound them, and they'll come to you. It really does work. I promise. It's just a mindset that you need to have, and they come to you. We've developed a good rapport, and with Sheila, is our team as we work on this, and people walk in and sense that. They sense that we're not going to just jump on them try and sell them our services. That's really not what we're there for. We're there to represent the seller. And it really does make a difference. So I don't know if we've explained that as well as we'd like to, but I hope you understand what I'm saying, that your mindset is to represent the house, not just to try and find new clients. And when they see how professional you are at doing that, and that's what your real interest is, then they say, that's the kind of agent I'd like to work with. And that really does make a difference.
I just want to take a little bit of pressure off some of you. When she says that I'm really good at conversation, I'm not. I don't think I'm good at small talk at all. She asked really good questions. Greg got the gift of gab. I do not. I don't feel comfortable with it. What I am, though, is I'll connect with somebody, just simply saying hi to them. If they come back and talk, because I usually have her with me or another lender, mostly just Sheila, though, or Greg, or even when I'm by myself, I just let it be whatever it's going to be. People who come in unrepresented want to buy that house, they're just going to come over and ask you to write the offer. And it's the coolest moment. You certainly will remember them all, but I can tell you that story. And the really cool thing with buyers is you have that time with them in the houses. So you start developing that relationship. You don't have to feel a lot of pressure on what's being said, or if you're asking the right questions. I wish somebody had told that to me early on. Again, my first 3 months, I worked with Angie Fisher, who really has the gift of gab. I mean, she's phenomenal. And I would have her carry my cell phone around with her while she's talking to people and record it, because I was going to go home and listen to it. Unfortunately, again, short attention span. I never capitalized on that and did it. I'd have all these recordings I never listened to. It's just not me. So that's the really cool thing about real estate. And I can promise you this, you could talk to 50 successful agents all in this office, and everybody does it a different way. You can be successful at real estate if you put in the time and you do something of quality that you're comfortable with.
Just be authentic, be yourself. I mean, there's no.
Take the pressure off.
Yeah. So let's go to.
We didn't hear anything about any of you. First, I would like to hear, just go around the room. If you tell us your names, and are you new to real estate? How new are you? How many classes have you taken? Something like that. Have you held an open house? I'd love to know that.
Start here. Okay. Sadie.
Thanks, Sadie. I got licensed at the end of December. So I'm super brand new and I haven't done an open house yet, but this is really good because I love talking to people. So I think open houses will be really fun for me. I'm excited.
My name's Alex and I got my license 2 years ago and down in Price and 2 years ago and I sold like I don't know 4 houses or something like that and but almost got a seller, but I moved to New York for a year, so I was off for a year and now I'm back.
Excellent.
My name is Eli. I got my license beginning of December and I've been full-time agent since then. Good job. Quit job, left behind. So just doing full-time real estate, and I have a appointment to shadow at open house in 2 weeks.
Good. Yeah. Burn the ships. I like that. You've jumped right in.
All right, I'm Cam. I've had my license for 2 years. I was with another brokerage before this. Didn't really do a whole lot there because I've had other businesses I've been working on, and came over here because I like the culture a lot better, like the trainings, the coaching a lot better here. So I'm excited.
Cam's the one that got me.
That's where I was too.
And you came over to KW.
Follow Hunter here. So.
Good.
Okay, my name's Jenny. I got licensed at the end of December, and yeah, I haven't done anything yet with it, just working on my leads, calling people.
Good.
My name is James. I'm also from Berkshire too. So the masses came. I was there for a year and I did lots of open houses, and it just didn't feel like I had the training in the same environment to be successful. So I think I'm excited to be here and learn a lot. So
we've done some business with agents at Berkshire. Let's see, on Mike and Tori's house. Oh shoot, what's her name? I can't think of it all of a sudden. Anyway, we've some good people there. Okay.
How's it going? My name is Jordan. Last week was my first week in real estate. Here now, no open houses set, but now I know the importance of how that can help out a lot in the business.
Good.
My name's Joel. I've had my license since I think September. I haven't done any open houses yet though.
Okay.
Well, I'm the old lady of the bunch, literally, looks like. I'm Jill Rodeback. I've been in for about 4 years, but done real estate really part-time. And this is the first year I'm really going to be full-time doing real estate. So.
This will be a great year. Great year. So some of you, this is your first Ignite class, is that right? Or third? Okay, well, in the first class, you were introduced to what they call check with your mindset, the personal perspectives. And I'm on page 7.7. Let's just look at a couple of these limiting beliefs that we might have about open houses. And hopefully we've already dispelled some of them, but let's make sure we have them all dispelled. One, I don't have a listing to hold open. Well, what do? You ask other agents in your market center for permission to hold one of their open houses. That's the simplest way, if you don't have open houses, to pick up on somebody else's.
Can I just plug right here? So Facebook, our Facebook group message has traditionally been our Facebook private thread has been where people have like solicited open houses. So make sure you're in there. If you're not, talk to me. But the other source that we're really trying to push is Key Please. Some of you might be familiar with that. That's like super, super slick. So the goal is to get the whole brokerage on there. So both of those are going to be good resources for finding when agents want to solicit open houses. So talk to me if you don't have them.
And one second.
Go ahead.
And this is what I used to do because I didn't have a lot of listings. And quite frankly, a lot of listings I've had go under contract really fast. So I didn't get to open house them very much. So I put a listing alert for all new, you can do it just for KWR office, all new listings. As soon as those come on the market and they don't have an open house scheduled, call them. See if you can hold an open house for them. There's a lot of agents that don't hold open houses, nor are they going to put it on the Key Please, nor are they going to put it in the Facebook group. They're just not going to have an open house, but they would let you. Or if it's been on the market for a couple of weeks, do it for also price reductions. Once there's a price reduction, there will be activity on that open house again. And we'll go over that in just a little bit on which ones to pick. You don't want to just do an open house on any listing because it may not, although if you put out a lot of signs, you'll still get traffic because people don't know, but you want both. You want to have activity. Don't feel bad though if nobody shows up to your open house. It does happen. You know, take something, do something good with that time. You can, if you're really gung-ho and you're really putting it all in, you'll make your phone calls that day. You'll write your notes, you know, everything you're learning in Ignite, you'll use that time to do that because you're on the clock anyway. So you'll have that opportunity.
I this last fall sat for 7 hours at an open house and nobody came. However, we sold the house next door. So
it was overpriced by a
it was overpriced and we knew that, but we ended up selling 4 homes to this family. So it was worth putting in the time to show that we were sincerely trying to do everything we could to sell the overpriced house. They ended up turning that into a rental, and we sold the house next door to one brother, and then 4, so it's 5 houses and 4 brand new houses. And Sheila did all of the lending, the financing on these houses for them. It's a long story. It started clear back when we first started in 2020. And it took, you know, almost 3 years to make it all happen, but it happened. Okay. Next limiting belief, I don't have signs yet. Who has open house signs? Okay, nobody. So what do you do for signs? Well, you can do a couple of things. One is that if you were doing an open house for us, you could borrow our signs. Just the fact they walk in the house and that's not you that was on the picture, that's okay. You can explain you're representing the house. But at some point in time, you need to start getting your own signs. They run about $25 a sign.
You have signs, don't you?
Yes. New agents, we have signs. If you're on a team, your team will have signs. But if you're on the new agent team, so excluding like Cam and James, like anyone else, we got signs. So we're
there you go. So that's not a problem. I may not know the answers to questions visitors have. If you don't know the answers, shame on you.
I never know.
But let me explain what I'm talking about. You should have been in that home on your own so that you can go through it and you can understand the house and see the house. You have the MLS listing. You should have printed out the client copy of that, full client copy MLS listing to pass out to people. And you should have on speed dial the agent who's representing the house so that you can how many times have we made a half a dozen phone calls to agents or to the seller? If we're representing the seller, we tell the seller, have your phone with you, because they're going to ask a question about the roof that we don't know the answer to, or they're going to wonder, something about the HVAC system or something, or yeah, you did that repair, give us more detail on it. And so you just need to have, when I say shame on you, you should have prepared yourself, but you should also have either the other agent or if you're representing the seller, where you can immediately text and talk to them and get answers on the spot for your clients. That's really important, isn't it, Colleen?
So, yeah. So usually, they're usually my clients. So I tell them to have their phone in their hand during the open house. So they text back really quick. But if you're dealing with an agent who's now got to deal with the seller, just tell the person, if it's in the beginning of why they're looking at the house, that you'll get them the answer. When they come back, this is great because now they've got to come back to you. When they come back, if you haven't gotten the answer yet, get their phone number. Now you get to start a text thread with them. If they're unrepresented and you will have had them sign in, so you're going to know if they're unrepresented. Now you have a reason to check in with them next week too, and see if they've, if they want to go see a house or this came on the market, or it's just a great thing to send somebody houses. Not so much text that just say, whatever they're telling you to say. Send them a house and they want to go see the house. That's the best thing you can do. Find another house to show them if that wasn't the house for them. But just get their phone number and follow up on it and give them the answer to their questions.
Now, Colleen always says me and mine, but we really are a team. And it ends up being about 50-50 every year on who brought in the client. So we really do all of this together. And find something. For example, the house that closed right at the end of the year, it had a unique feature in the kitchen where they had, it was a smaller kitchen that had been remodeled, but they had these unique pull-out features in the drawers, and here right by the oven is a small door, but you pull out this whole thing and all your pots and pans are right there, and then it's an easy close. I mean, we showed that every time because you hardly ever see something like that in the home. Very interesting. So one or two fun things, but then get out of the way. As I'm talking, any questions you have, please.
They say, I don't know. I mean, don't ever say, I don't know. Kind of out loud, find out for them. If you're going to go to work for them, they want to know that you're going to go to work for them. So I just cringe when agents do that. I'm like, ah.
I'll find out for you. The answer is I'll find out for you. Find out. Write it down.
Okay. The other limiting beliefs, open houses don't work. Hopefully we've convinced you that they do. I won't be safe. If you're a single woman in an open house, you're feeling comfortable, buddy up with somebody else.
Just don't go down the basement.
Yeah.
Stay on the main level of the house.
Yeah.
There was only one time, and I did most of my open houses. Sheila didn't go with me. I did a lot by myself. I started to go down in the basement with a man, and I just had the feeling I shouldn't be doing that. And so I just turned around, went back upstairs. Told him I'd see him when he came back up. And I did sell that house too, to somebody who followed in my signs. She just happened to be talking to her husband. They lived in a condo, had to sell the condo, and the house fit the bill for her. I was doing it for Peter, team in our office. It was the 4th of July weekend. Don't let anybody tell you holidays are not good weekends to do open houses. Lots of houses have been sold on holiday weekends. Oh. At least 3 I can think of in my short time in real estate here in Utah. So that person came in, she was at Walmart. I had done my 20 signs. It was at least 3 miles from the house, the Walmart sign. She decided to come see it. She got her husband over there. How do we write an offer on this house? Do you have a house you need to sell? Yes, we do. Called Peter and said, will you take a contingent offer? He said, yes, I will. So I got to go over to their house that night and list that house. They bought that one. So that's how it goes. And everybody on his team kicked themselves for taking the 4th of July weekend off. because I had gotten two
We
sales
worked,
that
we
weekend.
worked a good part of Thanksgiving
Yep.
this year,
Yep.
but we ended up closing those two houses at year end. But we were busy over Thanksgiving. So yeah, your mindset is the way that you make money is that you meet potential sellers and buyers. And if you're not putting yourself out, and sometimes those contacts take place at inconvenient times. And that's just the nature of this business. Sometimes you're working on a holiday, sometimes you're at a family event, you've got to excuse yourself and take a phone call, or maybe even leave early and go show a house. How many times has that happened to us?
I was just gonna say it always happens.
Yeah.
If you want to be busy, make a dinner date. Buy tickets to the movies. I guarantee you that's when somebody's gonna say to you, can you go show a house for me? Can you do this open house? Plan a big weekend. That's gonna be a really cool open house to be offered to you. And you're gonna decide in that moment if you want to make money or you want to go have a social life. And at this point in my life, I have not made enough money where I say no to money. I make the money because it's good money we make. And that person's not going to wait for you. They're buying that weekend.
Yeah.
So
Now, Gene Tanner, who you may have heard of, has sold 3,500 houses over the years in Utah Valley, basically. And she doesn't work after 5:30. If the people can't meet with her to show a house or whatever after 5:30, too bad. We're not in that position. Yes. Yeah. Gene has, and I don't know where Hunter went, but when you're dealing with Shoney and whatnot, the whole KW idea is that not only are you making money, but you're doing something with this money where you generate passive income through real estate. Jean has 100 doors. She owns 100 rental properties. So you can afford to do that. I can't afford to do that. So yeah, you're going to find that your life becomes inconvenience. But where can you make six figures, working 9 to 5, or, good six figures working from 9 to 5 and still have control over your own time and life? But part of that control is you make yourself available to your clients, that they know that they can get to you basically anytime. And, we've had lots of times people call and say, oh, I'm so sorry to call you later. I'm so sorry to call you on this or whatever. Yeah, we're not sorry. We're thrilled. We're thrilled that we're getting these phone calls, and that, sometimes we get inconvenience, but so what?
Well, one of the things too, if you go in and read some of our reviews on our website, we should have brought our cards down, Greg. Yeah. Over and over, they'll say she was available or he was available. They took our calls anytime. And a lot of people have had other real estate agents who weren't taking their calls or weren't returning their calls, or they didn't feel like once they got under contract that they took care of them. It's never about that one contract for me. For me, I'm going after their entire family. I want them to tell everybody that I was the best agent they've ever dealt with. I think one of the stats they'll give you, I don't know if you've already gotten it, and this is every person is worth 7 deals to you. That's a lot, but they're not going to be worth anything to you if they don't think that. There are so many agents and there are a lot of good agents. So it's really important that if they know that you went that extra mile, especially doing open houses. A lot of my Saturday nights go to 10, 11 o'clock negotiating on a deal for an open house.
You may have held the open house from 9 to 12 or 11 to 2, but hopefully end up working the rest of the day on writing offers on that house from unrepresented buyers that you get. And that happens so much. It really does. And it's great. It's great.
Yes.
I use the transaction coordinator. Colleen prefers to write her own contracts. It's whatever you're comfortable with. That works out great. We're drifting a little afield, but hopefully everything we're telling you is helpful in one way or another. We just had face-to-face contact with virtually all of our clients, both at the Keller Williams events, the Splash thing last summer, and then the Halloween thing. We delivered 75 pumpkin pies over a period of a couple of days, face-to-face with our key clients. And then at Christmas, one of our clients has a jam company. So we bought $1,000 worth of jam from them and delivered that to our clients. Just, you really develop wonderful friendships. And again, you read our reviews, that's really what people say, is that they feel a real personal connection on a professional level and on a personal level. So just be yourself, because you're all wonderful. Quickly on page 7.9, it just asks, who does the open house benefit? We've talked about this, but the sellers want the maximum number of people through their house to get it sold as quickly as possible. And so for an agent to say, oh, I don't want to do open houses, you're really short shifting your seller. You want to show the house on many buyers. They can see the house obligation, the NAR statistic, 51% of buyers research through open houses. Think of that. Half the people who are looking for homes go to open houses. I mean, why would you miss out on 50% of the market if you're not conducting a good open house? You wouldn't want to do that. And again, they come to you. The neighbors, this always happens. The neighbors want to see, they maybe never even been inside their neighbor's house. They all want to see what's going on with their neighbor's house compared to theirs. And they always ask, you know, well, they know, but you know, what are you selling it for? Gives them an idea as to what their home might be worth. The neighbors are always interested. I try to, when we get to an open house, if we're not busy right away, then Colleen will usually stay with the house and I'll go knock doors all around the neighborhood and give them just the sheet. We're holding an open house. Love to have you come see the house. Yeah.
That's my question. Do you flyers?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
You should.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should. I mean, it's an easy reason to knock on a door. You're not soliciting.
Yeah.
You're inviting them to an open house. Big difference.
Yeah.
And it will start a real estate conversation very easily.
But in this neighborhood, yeah, knock doors. In this neighborhood, for example, around the house we talked about a few minutes ago that was overpriced and everything, but I passed out 100 flyers in that neighborhood. No, I knock. I want to talk to somebody. Now, if they're not home, I'll stick it in the door. Although most people go in their house through the garage, so they don't necessarily see it on the front door anyway. But yeah, I knocked 100 houses in that neighborhood. Yeah, you can go ahead of time and do it, which is probably ideal.
Day before.
Yeah.
Knocking that. If you're going to do it,
Yeah.
you're going to do an open house, do it right, honestly, especially in the beginning, because you want to get the most traffic possible. So pick the open house carefully, make sure it's priced right and it looks good. Look at the pictures. And if that's the case, go after it. Go ask the agent if you can hold it. And then for the day before, have the flyers made. Ask Sheila to make the flyers. She's going to put her information on the back so it benefits her. She'll give you color flyers free. You don't even have to print them. Then you can go around and knock the neighborhood. How cool are you going to look to that listing agent for knocking the neighborhood? Make sure you ask the listing agent because they may have already done it if they're on a team, but more than likely not. Then they're going to remember you next time they have an open house too. I had this one of the biggest teams that was in this office, not here anymore, Jimmy Rex's team. They would call me first for their open houses and they had a team. So go and knock those houses. Even if you only knock 4 blocks, right around it, you're going to have conversations with those people. You're just inviting them to the open house. Do they know of anybody that might be interested in the house? Or maybe they'll talk to somebody, one of their friends, or maybe they just want to come see the house. But you're making connections with all those people and they may think about you. They may keep that flyer and then they get transferred at work or something. They're going to remember the nice person who came and knocked that neighborhood. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You're fine.
How do you feel about, like, I think you answered my question, that doing an open house in the same house, let's say it hasn't sold, but especially now, would you do it, again the next?
Absolutely.
If it's our listing, we'll open house it every weekend.
Every weekend on our listing.
I never give up. I would keep changing open houses. If it had a lot of traffic, sure. Or if they're going to do a price reduction, sure. But after a couple of weeks, you've lost the hotness of the house.
Open houses for someone else, you go out of your way to market and knock doors and do all those crazy things.
Yep.
Because I've had a few where people look at me where they're like, "You're not the listing." I'm like,
oh, but look at your flyer. Does this look like I'm not the listing agent? Your information goes on the flyer. That listing belongs to KW. So, and if that agent said you can do the open house, ask them if you can door knock, ask them if you can market it. They're going to say yes. As a listing agent, I want anybody here can market any of my listings. I want you to put your name on it, put it on Facebook, put it all over, put it on your Facebook page. Do you think anybody on your Facebook page knows that that's not your listing? They're not going to go look it up. I look like I was selling a lot of real estate when I was doing open houses every weekend, and I was posting it on my Facebook page every time. Do that. Get your flyers out. It makes you look really good. Plus, it looks really good in your portfolio when you have all these flyers later on too, to show people at listing appointments. There's so many benefits of this. There's different people in the office you can talk to too. Talk to a lot of agents. See what they're doing. Because everybody has different things they do. I know Bronson Gomez started the same time I did. And he says his jam is Facebook ads and getting those converted. It's not been my jam. I get a lot of responses, a lot of, I've done one sale, but still, it's still one. I mean, it's $10,000 worth, a lot of effort. You betcha. How to figure out how much that is an hour, how many hours you could work. So yeah.
Good point.
We're going to run out of time if we don't get going.
Yeah, we're getting through here. I guess we would just say here that put in the effort in the open house, get the signs out, make sure get early, make sure the house is clean. If there's anything you need to do, we've swept a few floors,
We've shoveled some driveways.
I mean, just be prepared, have a little bowl of candy, water. We even invested in a really fancy cooler that we can put in the summertime that we put on the back porch. And it looks like one of those old Coke coolers, and we put ice in it and some unusual, craft root beers and that sort of a thing. Just make it welcoming and homey, and make it look like you put some effort into it. Happy to have people come. Okay, we're halfway through. What ahas have you had at this point? What have you learned that something that you're going to put in a personal, that you said, I'm going to do this? Yes. Oh, okay.
Helped so much. I love it. This is such good information. I looks like I might be one who's actually being done open houses so far. But this would be so new. But I'd say just probably the biggest thing is the expectation. Because I have felt discouraged when I've done, my
Yeah.
So you restored my faith in just not having an expectation, just not expectations, but just go in, do the work, do the best job, and just have faith that.
And it'll flow to you. It will. It'll come to you. Laws of nature. I mean, reciprocity. It'll come to you. Yeah.
I was asking Colleen, she has to ask the whole class, but since you're not putting the seller's info, do you run the risk of any a misrepresentation or anything like that? Or
I don't. When you ask that, misrepresentation, you can't show the seller. The seller doesn't want their information. They don't want their name out there. So there would be no place that you would ever.
Selling agent.
Oh no, AW.
Oh, okay.
As long as you got the seller, as long as you have the listing agent permission to market their property.
The listing belongs to the brokerage. That's who pays you.
But you
okay.
Don't do it
without their proof. Eli. Yeah. Sure. Eli.
You have my permission to say that. You don't have to call me. But she'll be doing her own.
In tandem with that question, do you ever have to disclose people coming into your open house to say if you do decide to buy this property, you won't be working with me. If you have a really great connection.
This is a good question.
And they will be working with you.
Jessica or Johnson or whoever.
No.
Just because they tell you they're unrepresented and they don't have an agent doesn't mean they're yours. You have to say to them, would you like me to write up the offer for you? If they say yes, now they're yours. But you can't assume. There are people here in Utah in particular who want to be unrepresented.
No, so what I'm asking,
that's not his question. He thinks, do you need to disclose who the listing agent is?
To buyers.
To buyers.
So
no.
You're
No, if they're talking to you, you made the connection. The purpose of you doing other agents' open houses is for you to get leads. That lead does not belong to their agent, it belongs to you.
Now,
Is that
if
what you're asking?
It's more so just when you're in the open house, they're fully in front of their agents.
Right.
If they come in and say you have a really great connection with someone and they're interested in buying the property, you know.
and they've said they want you to write the offer.
No, like they think you're the listing agent. They think
They do think that.
Yeah. Do you have to tell them that you're not the listing agent?
Well, number one, they're going to be represented by a buyer's agent, which is going to be you if they say yes, they want you to write the offer for them. So they're not working with the listing agent. That makes sense?
You will be presenting the offer to the agent that you got the open house from.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Unless they want to remain unrepresented, meaning they're going to write their own offer.
And there are some that do that. And their reasoning behind it is that, well, it benefits the seller because they're not paying a commission, at least on one side of it. I would say in 90% of the cases, we still convert them to
Well,
our
and
agents. There are a few that went unrepresented, but not many.
For starters, is that really true? If you are unrepresented, does the seller automatically get a discount?
What does it say on the deal? It says what the percentage is on your contract. Yep.
Or 5% or whatever they've negotiated,
Yeah.
unless they decide to reduce it to the seller
Yeah.
on their own, between them and the seller,
Yeah.
they don't have to. And a lot of buyers don't understand that.
Seller's committed to a commission. It's on the listing agreement, right? They're going to pay the full commission. Now, sometimes the seller, we might say, okay, we'll take the listing commission and kick back the buyer commission to you. But that's at our discretion. That's not legal. That's not
Well,
mandatory.
we don't kick back the whole buyer's commission, just to be clear.
Yeah, we don't. Because we spent money on staging and other things.
Well,
Okay, we got to move to the second half. Any other ahas that you want to talk about? Okay, I think you're up next, aren't you? Let me look. We're on page.
Oh, I have a thing about your sign-in sheet. It seems like when we say to people, if you wouldn't mind signing in, that the owner would just like to know who's been in their home. That kind of makes it, I don't know if that's mine or not. You really do need to have a record of who's been in the home. I mean. So.
I think that most people, when they do open houses, they expect to sign in. I just get it out of I have had such mixed feelings on sign-in sheets. It depends on what time of the year it is for me, whether or not we use our sign-in sheets. But at this point in my life, I've decided just to use the sign-in sheet for lots and lots of reasons. I think one of the key reasons, and this top one is the one I use. I gave you 3 choices. If you email me today, I'll send you the PDF for these, so you can just print these. One of the key reasons I've decided lately that I'm back on to sign-in sheets is it gets it out of the way right away, whether or not they have an agent. Have them sign in, you can glance over at it, and you can know whether this is somebody you need to pay attention to really, or you just need to answer questions for, and they're not going to be yours.
And the other advantage of sign-in sheets on the seller side, if we're listing, you're talking about the buyers on the seller side, is that at the end of the day, they want to report on how the open house went. You can't remember everything that happened. If you've got a sign-in sheet, it'll bring back your memory, how many people came through, and you can give a good report back to the seller. All right, Colleen's going to talk about pick the how. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
You ever have it where people avoid signing sheets? I've had it where people.
Sure.
Oh, they're going to write fake names or
just not do it.
Those people aren't yours. Though some people be really annoyed about it. Yes, they'll walk out like they're going to sign it and they don't sign it. I mean,
they're not your client. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't matter.
Let it roll off your back.
For the same reason I stopped using them sometimes. I get so much negativity over that darn sign-in sheet. I just thought it's not worth it to me. But then something will happen and I needed somebody's name, or one of the agents calls or something. And again, because when I do open houses with Greg, he likes to talk to people. And he'll always close. He'll always go for the close. And he doesn't know whether or not they have an agent. And I've heard it and he hasn't. So he shouldn't be talking to him or trying to go for the close. So for that reason, I like him to be able to see on there whether or not they have an agent. So I just decided just put it out there and ask everybody to sign it.
And I keep a little book with me where if it's somebody like the one we talked about after the Pro open house, if it's somebody that I have a sense that I really need to follow up with over a period of time. And I'll put that in my own book and just make sure that I have the right phone number and the right email and everything so that I can stay, call them every week for however long it takes.
One of the big things I think helps a lot is your mindset. So especially when I'm setting up signs and it's a hot day or it's a windy day or whatever, and I start feeling, or when I'm collecting my signs, I try to do positive affirmations to myself. When those signs are clinking in the back of my car as I'm driving, I always think that's the sound of money. Do that in your head, because even if you don't feel it, if you say it to yourself, at least your subconscious believes it. Yeah. Today's going to be the day, or it's going to be a good day. And then you sit there and nothing happens. That's okay. Because then in the next week that I've got one down, I just always know the money's coming because it has, I'm 4 years in it now. And we doubled from the previous year. A lot of that. I pretty much sustain my business now on open houses and referrals. Yeah. So it starts to multiply, and it really starts to multiply for me. It was about 2.5 years where the people I had worked with that, I got all from open houses, started referring me. So hang in there and know that if you go do whichever it's going to be, whether you're making the phone calls or you're door knocking on doors, for me, the easiest thing was open houses, honestly. Do the open houses. But you're going to do a lot that aren't going to have anybody come, or nobody's going to buy it that day, or that's okay. That's okay. That's what my big message is for you today. If you know nothing else, if you keep doing it though, you will. Because somebody's going to come buy that house. They just are. And they need somebody to write the offer for them. And then you are going to scream and skip, and it's going to be a glorious day.
When we started together, I was just getting started. I fortunately have a pretty good base of friends and family. Coming from polygamous ancestors, I have 55 first cousins. And so, you just let people know that you're in the business, and that kind of jump-started me. But the reality is that our open houses have been more than half of our business. And like I said, last year we did almost $25 million. So you can tell we like to teach this class because we're believers. If the NAR says that half of the people get the information about the homes at open houses, again, why would you pass up on half the market? You want them there. Anyway, Colleen's going to talk about picking the house.
I'm going to send these around, and the first one that you're going to see is at my second sale. You'll see how empty this house is. It's a brand spanking house, and I got unrepresented buyers from that house. And then there's a couple other ones. Those were my first year I did at TW. That's pretty much my whole business. I can't even think of what else I sold anything from if it wasn't from the house. So I'm sure if I look at my records, I'd know. I already did pick a house.
Now it's referrals and open houses, but that takes time to build up the referrals.
Referrals are our listings, and we are.
That came from open house.
Rick and I do both sides are our listings so often. I mean, it's got to be at least 75% of the time. Where somebody will come in, and we're in a multiple offer situation, and that unrepresented buyer that now one of us represents the buyer and one of us represents the seller pays the most money. We don't give any kind of special deal to keep them. They pay the most money than anybody else. So what do you think?
Dual representation.
When we have an open house,
limited agency,
and we're representing the seller, somebody comes to open house and they're not represented, want to put in an offer. So now Greg no longer represents the seller. Usually I say the seller. He's going to represent the unrepresented buyer. They still pay more than all the other offers. They're the winning offer. I know there's a lot of agents out there that believe when they see that the listing agent did both sides, that they gave a better deal to the buyer. That's how they got theirs to win. We're not that kind of an agent. Our first, and everybody should be, your first fiduciary duty is to the seller. So they have to get the most money. The only way that buyer that he's now representing is going to win in a multiple offer situation is if they pay the most money than anybody else would have. And when we do listings, we get permission from the seller, and we let people know what the highest offer is. So that's how that can work.
Yeah. Eli.
Have you guys ever had a situation like that where your guys' personalities or negotiations made each other frustrated? Because you guys are friends, you guys know each other, and if you guys are representing two different houses and say, I don't know, you've had a moment or something, and you guys are arguing and saying, you know what, like, I'm representing the buyer, you're representing the seller, but you're not being fair. I mean, have you guys ever had a disagreement like that?
It's been harmonious. We haven't really.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's come through lots of times because he's the buyer side, and it's like, bring it, present it. And I'm talking to the seller. I don't think you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
The thing is too, once you represent the sellers, you have a good idea where they're at.
Yeah.
The idea in the end is for it to, and this is really my aha, just this past month, is we had a listing that was so hot, it was unbelievable in this market. It was in Mill Creek. And everybody wanted the house, and they ended up offering almost $200,000 over us. And they had buyer's remorse right away. Canceled. The next person got in line, we never went back on the market. The next person got in line, was gonna pay the same amount, they fell out, buyer's remorse. So what I learned, this is the first lesson I ever had on this. we've had listings that go much over asking price, but they've always finished. This is the first time. It wasn't until fourth or fifth. Fourth person. Still closed in the month, thank goodness. But it was, I swear I have PTSD from the whole thing. What I learned from that is sometimes when people make split decisions and they're bidding up that high, they're not going to stick. And I didn't realize that before. Plus, both sides need to feel like they won. And in this case, the sellers had all the cards. But what the buyers were offering were just outrageous. I mean, hard money. Two people walked away from money, $2,000 money. One's kids just didn't want to change schools. So there's not much to pick up with that.
And I represented the buyer in that. Should have the seller on that one. We came real close on that one, but there were those issues. Then on the other three, there were agents on the other side.
Yeah.
But
almost all of them were, the buyers felt like they were not getting a good deal. They paid too much. They gave away too much. And so they got out of it. So it kind of, I don't know how we could have done certain things differently, but what I did learn from it is people have to feel like they're both winning. They still have to feel good about it. And we did end up reducing the price significantly. We did sell for like $130,000 asking.
Yeah, it was a tough one. Yeah. No.
With that aha though, what have you learned to present to the seller differently?
I think the most that I've learned so far in it, and I think there's a lot of pondering and more experience that I'll get better ahas on it, was slow it down. We didn't have to do the best and final by Monday at 2. We should have gone till Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. It does upset the buyers. Yeah, they feel like you're waiting for more offers and all, which always, but in the end, it just was too much crunch time. It was too hard.
On both sides.
The last one that won it, that fell out with buyer's remorse and walked away from their $10,000. They had just gotten off a plane. They had like a half an hour to get their offer in, and they ended up giving the highest one. Theirs actually was because their kids didn't want to move.
That was the whole story. So I've stayed in touch with them. Someday we're going to sell our house up here on Apache. They'll find the right house, but that one was just too pressure packed. And mainly they're the ones that brought the pressure. The other ones got off the airplane, called me. I had just driven from East Mill Creek back to my house. They called me and said, I drive back up to East Mill Creek, show them the house, et cetera, et cetera.
And he didn't know they were going to put it in an offer.
Yeah.
He just wanted to go show it. It was a side call. And we already had like, I don't know, we had a lot of offers.
We had half a dozen offers already. So, but I went back up and did it. They put in the offer. They changed their mind at the last, but we'll still sell my house and we'll sell their house.
Because you never know. He almost made an extra $9,000 on that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we split everything.
I don't think you guys understand that, right? I got it, Greg.
Everybody on that wall has sold at least $10 million in a year, just so you know what that is. Masters of Real Estate. And when you get that, you get a t-shirt. Okay. All right. This is not just some rinky dinky brokerage. You get a t-shirt. And I wore it in Hawaii.
Super big plug for Ignite and KW. I started out here and I went through the Ignite program. How many Ignite classes have you guys taken? Like 2 or 3? 3. Okay. So it's worthwhile to come to every one, even if it seems like a subject you don't need to spend your 2 hours on. You're going to have an agent sitting in front of you as one of the top agents at KW, and they're going to give you little tricks that they do. You're going to get their take on it, how they're making their money. And that is worth its weight in gold just to listen to their examples. I went and worked for a discount brokerage for a couple of years because my sister was there and she was working with an investor, and there was just a lot of open house opportunities there. So I skedaddled over there, which is where I met Greg. What's the point on there? Where we're going?
With what?
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I started thinking about her and all that mess.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, KW.
Dana comes to mind. It was
Being around these people will help you be a better agent. It helps me be a better agent. It's just you're around successful people who will advise you, give you good examples. The meetings here are unbelievable. I always think it was worth my time when I came. So
this is a great culture. Everybody's willing to help everybody. And you end up doing deals. We're doing a deal, a major deal right now, Colleen and I, with 2 agents here in the office. Yeah. They know that we have clients that buy developers that buy raw land. They brought the land to us, and we brought the buyer in. And I'm sorry, it's in my hearing aids. Let me. Hello, this is Greg. Can I call you back?
it says
Okay.
pick the time.
Thank you so much.
Honestly,
Okay.
I don't know what a good time is to
We're
do an open
teaching a
house.
class. Bye-bye.
I probably have done, I don't know, 100 open houses, and it just varies. The one thing I can tell you is check BYU's schedule. Don't hold your open house out of
On a
BYU
football,
game.
a home game.
Now you'd think you'd pick up some of the wives, but I haven't had a very good experience about it. That's the only thing I ever seen really dent the open house. I've done them I do them for 3 hours. I mean, if you're going to put out 20 signs, hang out. And remember this, don't close down early. If anything, plan on staying until 15 after, because
Guess what?
People show up right at closing.
The people that you're going to get as clients show up right just when you're ready to shut off the lights and go get your signs. It just seems to work that way.
Go ahead. I don't have one. That's what I'm telling you. 11 to 2 seems to be my favorite time to do open houses,
Yeah.
but they don't seem to come until 2. So I've just recently started doing 2 to 5, and I don't have enough feedback to tell you if that's working out or not.
We generally do a Friday night as well.
That one is a late one, 2 to 5. I do it whatever sundown is. I go back 3 hours.
Yeah.
Once it gets dark, it's hard for them to see the signs.
Right.
A lot of people, if it's a new listing, only come to open houses. They won't call their agent to go see the house. It's the strangest phenomenon to me. And they'll wait for the open house. So those are your people with agents. But if it's your listing, then that's the reason to do an open house for sure. You're going to get more people.
And once in a while, you will get an agent that comes through to preview the house. They don't have their clients with them. And if they like it, then they'll say to you, can we bring them back at such a time? And they just use the super key if it's not during the open house. But you'll get agents that are previewing houses too.
Don't discount an agent either. Be very friendly to them. You might be writing an offer with them in the very near future.
That's right. I mean, 2 years down the road, you might run into them again.
Agent connections are very important when they're getting multiple offers and the offers are about the same price. They actually have a big say to their clients on which one to pick, because going under contract's the first thing. You got to stay under contract. You now have to negotiate repairs and other things. And so agent connections are very important. So be very, you're going to be nice to everybody. Don't look at your phone at all when people are in your house. You're only going to have this moment with them. So act like, stay out of their way, but be attentive. That's what I want to say. You'll have people tell you they go to open houses and they just never look up. Well, that was a wasted day. Might as well bring your lunch and turn on the TV.
So another thing that Colleen and I have had some disagreement on, and I have come to her side of the aisle.
Often he says that.
Her side of the aisle is we spend a lot of money on staging homes. And I'm looking at a house and saying, geez, we're going to spend $4,000 or $5,000 on some of these houses. That comes right out of our commission. We pay for it. We tell the sellers. There are some agents who have the sellers pay for it, but we've never felt that was appropriate. We're marketing the house. And so there have been times where we have, do we really need to spend the money on this one or not? And I have come around to the fact that most cases, it's worth staging. Now, Colleen's going to talk about how you pick a house and how you determine whether to stage it or not. You're up.
Well, you're not staging for open houses. You're just doing open houses for agents. I mean, whatever condition it's in.
I was talking about if you're representing the seller, obviously.
Yeah. You'll have people that'll go through all that with you. Just to cover what he started I'm just a big believer on staging. And it's an emotional connection. People, they're not going to get any of that furniture, but boy, when that house looks really good, they buy the house for that. I always sweat it when they're gonna come back after it's all taken out, but usually we don't remove furniture till we're past all that, so. Yeah, yeah. Staging makes a difference, it just does, because it's an emotional connection.
You do your own staging, you hire.
Hire.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have said right at the start of that. If you're the listing agent,
Yeah.
then we're talking about staging. Obviously, if you're not someone else or you're the buyer's agent, you're not involved in that.
Okay, so let's go to the Facebook ads, because you'll get a lot of response on that. The biggest goal on and again, Bronson Gomez should teach a class on that. Somebody's going to teach that class.
Yeah.
They'll tell you stuff how to do it, because I'm not good at it. But I did sell one from an open house that didn't belong to me, advertising, and the lady wanted to see it weeks later. And she wanted to know if it was still available. And I said, it's not, but would you like me to send you other houses similar? And she said, yes. And I did. Most important thing is get them to them right away. And if you send them in, okay, the second story too about that. If you send them in, they may not respond at all. So you think that they're ghosting you. I had a guy that we sold a $1.3 million house to, and just recently a $2.8 million house to. I sent him houses for a whole year. He never responded. There were many times I almost stopped texting him houses, but they weren't ready. They were renting. They said they were ready to buy. And then all of a sudden, after about a year, they sent me back on and go, we want to see this, but we're more open to blah, 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 blah. And then I showed them a whole bunch of houses for a few weeks and they bought their house. And we had that connection. And he is VP for, I think it's called Solar Run. They bought Vivint Solar. And if you go to my webpage and you look at Google, if you go to Google reviews for me, he's my first one. He even had us take a picture of him and his family in front of the house. This guy's in sales. But the point of telling you that is just keep sending it to them. If they're, until they tell you stop, don't give up, because you just never know. They're just not interested in buying right now, but they're enjoying seeing them. And if you text them, don't put them on a listing alert where they get emails for lots of reasons. You're not going to have a back and forth conversation. They're not going to send you, or just say, what do you think about this one? They may still not respond. Keep sending them. If they've given you their phone number and they've told you what they want, just keep sending them, because one day one of them they're going to want to see. And if you get to go show them a property, you have a client. That's a guarantee.
You know, one of the things just off topic here, but popped into my mind about being familiar with the house and representing it well. Their house that we sold it to them to begin with in South Jordan. And then we ended up, 6 or 9 months later, selling that house and for 1.6 million. And right across from that house is an empty field. And somebody mentioned there was going to be a park there. So I went to the city and talked to both the city planner and then to the Parks and Rec people and got all the information on that park. And it's 8.5 acres. They're going to turn into this gorgeous park, which right now is a field full of weeds. So we were able to stand at the front porch and say, now, you see this empty field, it's not going to be houses. It's going to be this beautiful Jordan Willows City Park with a stream going through it and the kids' playground and the whole thing. And so that was a real selling point for us to be able to explain why this weed-filled field, say that 10 times fast, was going to be within 2 years is going to be this phenomenal addition to the value and enjoyment of the neighborhood. But I went to the city, 2 different offices, and got a map and printed that out and outlined everything. And we knew everything that was going to happen with that park, including the fact that once they've got it out to 2 or 3 park designers, then the people in that neighborhood get to come to meeting at the city and comment on which one they like the best. I mean, people get excited about having put something that's going to beautify and enhance their property. So, look for those kind of things. I mean, the thing here says, be familiar with the schools you have, and you can do that, but right on the MLS sheet that you're passing out, it says which schools the kids will be going to. It's a good idea to know maybe how far away they are and that kind of thing, or where the shopping centers are. But doing things like when we found out about this park and doing the research to be able to explain to people what it's going to be, boy, that makes a difference. And that is a great point of conversation, because you're not saying, are you represented? You're giving them something of benefit, the research that you've done, and that's something to talk about. And that really can open a lot of conversations. Sorry, it
He-
hit my mind.
You did good. He did really good with that little tidbit. And it didn't take him very long. He went down to the city planning thing and he got the map and he talked to the person. Very important when you're giving out information like that is you disclaim it with, I went to the planning department and they told me this. So you're not telling them that that is an absolute, just in case they change their plans or something.
Right.
Always start with where you got that
Yeah,
information
and this
from.
map came.
Someone
on the
told you that.
planning, and then I went to Parks and Rec, and here's the information on the meetings they're going to be held and da 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 da. So
Very careful.
Yeah.
If somebody says to you, what are they doing next door? What's this land for?
Yeah.
Where's the property lines? Cause number one, you don't really know. Even if it's your own listing, you're still going off of what the seller said to you. So always be careful about that. They should always do their own due diligence. If they want to get it surveyed, they can do that.
Yeah.
Just don't tell anything as an absolute. Just be careful what you say.
We're representing a piece of recreational land down in Salina Canyon. And for that purpose, then we did go get plat maps, which shows everything around it. And there's issues there with power, water, sewer. And so that has taken a lot of research to be able to find out what the deal is. And you can only live there 9 months here and all that kind of stuff. So if you look at the MLS on that, we've listed all that out, but also given names and phone numbers of the people at the county level that they can contact directly. This is what we know, but we recommend that you talk to these people. And that's required quite a bit of research, frankly, but it's worth it. And the disclaimer is, yeah, we talked to them, but now you need to, so that you understand exactly what and it's an unusual situation where there's no HOA or CC&Rs. So there's more research goes into something like that.
The door knocking. One of the benefits of door knocking the day before is you're going to talk to the neighbors. It's more talking points for the next day for the open house, because people want to know what the neighborhood's like. So if you've door knocked, you've seen if there's kids in the neighborhood. It's one of the questions you could ask as you're door knocking when you talk to the person. Is there a lot of kids in the neighborhood? Because people are going to want to know that to come through the open house. Find out what kind of a demographic the neighborhood is. Any conversation you can have when you're door knocking with the neighbors, you are now going to repeat in the open house. It's conversation that they want to hear about, makes you very valuable again. Those are things that you can connect with that stranger with, and they're going to, I don't know, it's just a weird connection that happens, and you'll know it. You'll recognize it when it starts happening, but that's a good reason to go do the door knocking, because you get to talk about the neighborhood.
And I always say to them when when I greet them, and then I say, hi, we're representing the Jex's home around the corner, and we're holding an open house, but I'm talking to you now to give you the opportunity to pick your own neighbors. Do you have any friends or family who would be interested in moving into this neighborhood? And once in a while,
Sheila and I door knocked a neighborhood, and the football coach ended up buying it. So you never know.
But I always lead with, hey, I'm giving you the opportunity to pick your own neighbors. You have any friends or family would like to move into this neighborhood?
So before your open house, you're going to have somebody, or you're going to arrange to print your brochures. The MLS sheets, if you do the client copy of it, it will put your name on the top of it and have your phone number. But make the nice color brochures and get a lender to pay for it. Just about any lender, if Sheila's busy, but I'll bet you she'll make flyers for you no matter what. It makes you look really cool if you have those. People love things in their hands. So make your brochures, drive the neighborhood. If you door knock the day before, that's perfect. And look at like a Google map. That's always easy. And that's how I usually plan my signs. I'll look at the Google map.
Yeah. Where's the traffic flow?
Yeah. Half the time I change my mind when I actually see it in person. So drive it. So you're familiar with it. You'll know where the stores are. Again, gives you talking points for that day.
And it's wonderful if there is a shopping area nearby to have your signs on those corners, because there's a lot of people going to the store or whatever the case may be, and direct them to you.
Things about signs. There's a lot of towns that won't let you put the signs on the roads. Eagle Mountain, Saratoga, I think I've read things that they will confiscate your signs. So be careful about your, like Redwood Highway, those kind of places. Try to get it on private property, gas stations, stores, get it off of the sidewalk in that corner. You're fine. You're going to be fine.
And if you're in a neighborhood,
never on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You don't want to block traffic in any way.
But if you're in the neighborhood, that gives you another, if you need to put it on somebody's grass, you go knock on their door and ask their permission, And then that gives you an opportunity to talk to them about the open house.
If you place a sign in somebody's yard without asking for permission, somebody's gonna get mad at you. We've had quite a few, we've given out a basket for somebody
Yeah.
in the Wii situation that put it down without asking, and she went and put it in the dumpster. She was really, really mad when I came back to go look for my sign later that day. And so we had to go back and apologize for the basket. Fortunately, she had a Ring doorbell. She wouldn't answer the door and claim her basket, so we ate it ourselves. But
but it was the thought that counted. Yeah.
we learned another lesson. Always ask.
Some certain areas, certain neighborhoods that have certain requirements on how big the signs can be and how many you can have in that area.
The only thing I think that probably could get into trouble would be in townhome communities, but honestly, not once have I ever gotten into trouble.
You know, these are pretty much a standard size of.
You're in and out in
sign.
3
People are
hours.
used to it. You know, it's
Just in other appointment with.
we've never had
that client, and the listing agent was there. She got a call, and I could hear her saying, "Hey, your signs are too big. You have too many on the street." So she's like, "I gotta run." And
that would be an HOA. Some busybody in an HOA is probably trying to control that.
There'll be exceptions. They're just wild.
That's a real exception. We never.
I've read things online. Try to get into all the real estate groups. We have a private one here at KW for sure, be in that group. Then there's another
Wasatch Front.
Wasatch Front.
Is really good.
Yes, and people will talk about this. And then you can go in the search bar in that group, inside the group, and put signs. It'll show you every time anybody's talked about signs, and you'll read some of the areas. I'm always very cautious of Saratoga Springs just because I've read stuff.
But you know,
but I saw
Wasatch
houses
Front
there, and I've done okay. Nobody took my signs.
Wasatch Front is very valuable. We were looking for recommendations on basement refinishers. You just put that in there, and you'll have agents that say these people are fantastic, or these not so much. So that's a good thing to use. We're gonna. I don't know what else, Colleen. I think we're. I'm sorry, what?
Prepare stats. That's more information to bring with you. Anything you can do in preparation to find out about the neighborhood and check your local COVID guidelines. Turn on the lights. Oh, for heaven's sakes. When you show a property, or for your open house for sure, lights matter. Especially if you're showing the property, get ahead of them. Okay, so this is my personal opinion. When I show a property, I try to leave people alone the same as I do at my open houses so they can have the connection to it. So basically, I just run ahead of them and start flipping lights, and I let them show the house to themselves. I always stay within ear hearing distance if they have a question for me, but I stay out of their way. When I was buying my houses, I had agents that talked nonstop, and I could not figure out if my couch could fit in this room, if this is going to be big enough for my bedroom furniture, if I want to buy this house, if I want to make an offer on this house. I'm thinking all this stuff, and she's asking me about what I did last weekend. And so I make sure that I don't do that. And I tell my clients that's what I'm doing too, so they don't think I'm ignoring them. But most importantly, turn off lights. And then once they've gone through rooms, you can go back and start clicking them off, or just stay after.
Now, if they've come at a time other than your open house, and they're using the key box, and it's up to them. But the most extreme example I can give you is this house in South Jordan, where I live half the distance to it that Colleen did. So our seller, picky seller, and we always wanted to show the house the best way possible. And again, we sold him that house plus a $2.6 million house. But I drove, a half-hour round trip plus the time to turn on the lights over 20 times to that house when other agents were going to show it, just to have the lights on and have it looking the most presentable that we possibly could. Now, that's not an open house. That's other agent showings, but I went up there over 20 times.
Well, and honestly, we did that because after the first showing, it was after dark, and they had specialty lights. Yeah. And the agent showing the house did not turn on the lights, and my client called me and said,
"There's a camera in the house."
They didn't even turn on the best lights, Colleen.
Yeah, and there's a pool that we wanted to have uncovered and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm now a believer that I think it's worthwhile, if it's your listing, to get over there and turn on those lights before agents go through.
That's not open house, that's agent showings, but you still want it to show the best way possible.
Yep.
That's more of an extreme example. We've never had anything where we've done it 20 times, but nevertheless sold the house.
I would do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, do it anytime.
I was at an open house once and the lady came in, she wouldn't talk to us. She went around and was opening up cupboards and was not looking at the house. Didn't have her kids with her. It was a Saturday. And so the agent and I literally followed her around and well, we went down to check on her. The agent said, "Will you go check on that lady?" And I go down and she is literally looking through like all the cupboards. She was looking for drugs. And so just because we're in Happy Valley doesn't mean that you are not going to have people that are doing that kind of thing. So if someone is missing for a long time, and this is what's good about having us, you know, more than one person there, she may be talking to somebody and somebody else someplace else. Just because we don't follow people around, we still keep tabs on everybody that is in that house because that is somebody's house. And yeah, it was super creepy, this lady, and I just started following her around until she left. Because we thought she's trying to find, she's in the bathroom, opening cupboards, opening drawers. I mean, it was just such weird behavior. So be mindful of that kind of thing too.
Well, and I tell my clients on listings to put away all prescriptions and expensive jewelry. Anything of value that somebody can put in their pocket very easily should be put away. A lot of times I just tell them box it up and stick it in a box someplace. That way you're not, because there are a lot of people that go around to open houses and look in medicine cupboards. So
Jewelry.
But yeah. Because there's no way you can be everywhere in that house and follow people around. You know.
Is there anything up here that we haven't covered that you want us to talk about?
Go ahead. No, I have followed people around that were acting suspicious. I had young men come in and split as soon as they came through the front door. So we just followed them and they left right away. Yeah, no.
What in the world was she looking for?
So I go in the house like, so then she comes in, she goes, no, there's no trash thing. You know, I can repurpose this. This is private property, so we need to just stay. Yeah.
Dumpster diving.
And, yeah, so you can, that's the first time you can hear it's ever happened to me. But yeah, you're gonna have some situations that you gotta be assertive. Yeah. Luckily, no.
And that, yeah, 99.99% of the time you're not going to have that. But if I were one of you ladies, and for some reason do an open house alone, I'd have a little spray in my pocket just in case something untoward happened. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, is there anything up there that we haven't covered that you want to talk about? Yeah.
I think you mentioned Facebook ads for marketing these open houses. Do you do that for all open houses you do? Just
It doesn't have to be an ad. They have a lot of Facebook groups like Provo Yard Sale, Payson Yard Sale. Those are free. And all I do is grab the best pictures, say 10 of the very best pictures from the listing, put them on there. You can use the description from the listing. Just say open house, you know, whatever time it is, make sure. Okay. So a lot of people who teach this class are gonna tell you don't put the price because that'll make them ask. I just don't go with that. I go with the price and the address. I want them to come or I want them to talk to me.
You don't want somebody that's looking for a $500,000 house to waste your time on $1 million house. I mean, it doesn't
well,
make sense.
The other way is they're trying to get you to get phone numbers and get conversations going. That's not where I'm not good at it. So I just give them the information. But when you do that, that's how I sold to the one lady who asked me, you know, weeks later, if that house was still available. Try to remember to go in and take them down afterwards, but you'll forget. I can get those into 30 of them on every open house.
Be sure on your own Facebook page.
Absolutely, always on your own Facebook page.
That's the number one on your Facebook page. Hey, we're having open house this weekend. Come see the house. And you know, get 2 or 3 or 4 good pictures and the price and the address.
And you're not really doing that to get them to the open house. You're doing that to tell them I'm a real estate agent.
You know, and I'm representing really, really lovely properties.
Yep. Yes, I actually did have, we had a listing. I can't remember which one it was now, but it was not a lovely property. I did not post that on my Facebook page. I think, what are you thinking, Colleen?
But
I didn't advertise that one at all.
I mean, here I'm thinking of the Mona house and the Cannons. That home was a log house, beautifully done. down in Mona. And we were holding it, the people were moving out of state. We were the listing agents. We're holding the open house, and a lot of people came through. These people sat there basically most of the day because we want this house, didn't they, Stephanie? And but through that, then we listed their house in Nephi. And so I got a twofer out of that. We represented the buyer and then represented the seller.
So
Open houses at both places, sold both places.
on that listing, we did both sides.
Yep.
Then the house that we listed, we did both
sides.
sides.
We do a lot of limited agency, or I like to call it dual agency. And what you do is you put up what they call a Chinese wall. In other words, we still talk about it, but if I'm representing the buyer and I bring her an offer, then she truly acts like the lender's agent, and then that's not going to go, you're not going to work or whatever, or the seller's agent, and vice versa for doing it the other way. Whichever side you're representing, you give them the best possible representation. Now, the advantage of us doing both sides on many of our deals is that we have some control over it. Okay, we feel like we can, understand both sides and come up with the best solutions for that. And so the main reason for dual representation is basically control. You control the whole process.
Since that we're waiting that we can do both sides. We do both sides because the buyer that came unrepresented is willing to pay the most for the house with the best terms.
Right, exactly.
There is no preferential treatment. That's
Yeah,
the truth.
and you've got to make sure that that happens, that you don't
Yes.
don't get in a lawsuit.
Because I would tell them what the price was that'd have to be.
Yeah.
They would have done.
And if I'm representing the buyer and we get to the point where, there's just not worth it to them on that house, then that's fine. An agent has brought another buyer and they get the deal.
There's so many reasons why you don't ever get into that situation where you're going to take care of the seller in the best way possible, or for the buyer to think that you didn't.
Somehow you're playing inside baseball and they're not getting fair representation. Yeah, but you got to be really careful with that. You really do. Yeah.
There is one thing I don't want to.
Eli had a question.
Today is everybody has Utah real estate on their phone. Okay, if you pull that out, open that up. This is maybe one of the best ways, and I do it at every open house. I'll sit in front of, especially if I don't know the neighborhood very well. I'll sit on my phone and pull up nearby for sale. And if you're sitting out in front of the open house and you do that, you now know what's for sale right around you really easily.
Who's your competition?
It'd be great if you did this the day before, but you can just open all those up, not just know who your competition is. What if that house didn't fit that buyer's needs? What if they were wanting something less expensive? Have in your mind already preset on several houses that you know about that you can bring up to them. This is after they for sure are not interested in the house that they're saying, this one's too much money, we can't do this. What price point are you looking at to? I just saw, because you're into the pictures, just saw a house that's a few streets down. Would you like me to show that to you later on this afternoon, and can I send it to you? And then you can pull up your app, open that up, push share, and ask them for their phone number. Now you have sent them a house right then and there, and you have their phone number, and they just ask you to do that. That's if they don't have an agent. You definitely want to ask them at that point, are you working with an agent? Because then their agent, you can say that.
Yeah.
I can send it to you if you want, just tell you the address, your agent.
That is such a good tool.
But if you do that for sale, you can just easy way, and you can filter it and see what's sold, also what's under contract, so you know what else is sold, recently. But I went to an open house very early on that I did not do that, and they're talking to me about the house up the street. I hadn't looked at the pictures. I didn't know what they were talking about. That was a very uncomfortable position to be in. As a realtor, they can do that about all the houses for sale, let alone the one that's 5 houses down. So if there's houses for sale, when you're driving up and down that day before that day, make sure you drive around the neighborhood. When you're nearby for sale, think how smart you will be.
The more you know, the more comfortable you'll be, and you'll be more authentic. Yeah.
This is totally random, off topic. What are your guys' standards for shoes? Like if it's a muddy day, do you guys like take off or do you make people like cover their
We have
shoes?
a booty basket, so they can either put on booties or take off their shoes up to them. But no, we don't want anybody tracking anything else. We always,
Well, and it's not just a muddy day. It's not just a muddy day, it's a respect thing for the new buyer of the house and to the seller of the house, that a bunch of people aren't trucking their whatever throughout their house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to buy a house that just had 100 people walking through on my carpet. So if they see that you're using booties, they'll feel a lot better.
my oldest son just, they built a house in Highland that won the Parade of Homes, the best home between $3 and $5 million. They had, I don't know how many thousand people came through that house, but you'd never know it because the Parade of Homes people, first of all, they put a vinyl cover over the heavily traveled area, but everybody that comes in has to either take off their shoes or wear a bootie. I mean, that's, thousands of people going through. So I agree with Colleen 100%. You're showing respect to the house. You're showing respect to the sellers. And if somebody's going to buy that house, they don't want to see everybody in front of them trotting on what's going to be their carpet. So that's a really good point.
Good rule of thumb too, when you go see people, get into their house for any reason, drop your shoes. Some people are really picky about that.
Yeah.
And you walk into their house with your shoes on, I don't care what you say to them, they're not going to get over that. You've now done that, because some people have real issues with shoes in their house.
Yeah,
And
they really
read any
do.
articles on it and you understand why
So
people
just,
have that.
just assume that as soon as you walk in, you're going to take off your shoes
Yep, can't go wrong.
or carry booties with you, one or the other. You can do that.
About the booties, I just take them home and wash them. Yeah, you can wash those suckers for a long time before they wear out.
Yeah. So just have two baskets, one with clean booties and one where they can discard the ones they've just worn. Hey, we're about out of time. Always happy to take your questions, but I really like on page 7.20, if you're there, there's one sentence there that I think kind of encapsulates everything that we've talked about today, and that is this: you'll spend more time preparing for the open house than you will be hosting the event. Colleen, is that so true? You spend more time. Yep. Yep.
Even if nobody comes to the open house, you're going to do something in that moment. If you did nothing with your free time but send out that app of the open house to anybody on your list, this is a really cool house, blah, 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 blah. Send it to your contacts. Once again, they're not going to jump in their car and come see the open house probably, but they're going to remember that you're a realtor.
They'll remember you.
So
you're top of mind.
Tell yourself that you're going to do something. You're going to be great at real estate, and you will be.
It says,
absolutely will be.
Prepare your mindset beforehand, set high and achievable goals. The high and achievable goals to me means you don't control how many people come through that open house. That's an unrealistic thing to say, I'm going to talk to 20 people today. You might not have 20 people come to one. You might have 40, but the goals to me would be to be prepared ahead of time. All the things we've talked about, have your signs out, know the neighborhood, be there early, get the lights on, have the candy dish out, your sign-up sheets, just all of the things, the door knocking you've done the day before, all of those things, those are realistic goals. And if you do that, again, you'll spend more time preparing than you will be hosting. Remove your limiting beliefs. We've talked about that. Focus on your success. Believe in yourself. And success engenders more success. Belief in yourself increases as you have more success. So you're all here for a reason. And the reason you're here for is you want to have a highly successful career in real estate. You recognize that you want to be in control of your own life. You don't want to be working in some large corporate organization or whatever the case may be. You've recognized that you have personal skills where you can interact with people. You recognize that this can be a lifetime career for you, where you can make a lot of money. You can invest that money to give you income outside of what the hours that you're putting in. All of those things are a benefit of a really successful real estate career. And so congratulations on being here. We hope we've given you something of value. We're always available to answer any of your questions anytime. I did not bring cards, though. We should, but you can. We're here. You can contact us in that way. We're here for you. Anything that we can do. Hope you got a lot out of it today. A lot of ahas, and go get them. And I did go through the bold course, and the guy that taught it, he every morning, this guy very, very successful in the Bay Area. And when he does his affirmations, he stands in front of a mirror, and when he does this, he goes, "I am a successful real estate agent." Woo! He does that all of these things, and it imprints in your mind. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Hey, just to let you guys know, so tomorrow is a pretty jam-packed day. There is team meeting at 11. That's every Tuesday. There's a short-term rental class at 12:15 or presentation. Moving forward from 1 to 2 on Tuesdays, Dean will be doing WITSE, which is what if they say yes, good time to ask broker questions. And then 2 to 3 on Tuesdays, we'll be doing either a command boot camp or like an accountability session. So if you can attend, please attend. That time from 2 to 3 tomorrow would be a great time for us to connect if you have any tech questions or any missing tech pieces. I was gone for a few days last week, so some of you might still need to finish up a few things. So plan on being there and we'll take care of it then, or connect with me after. Great.
And when you're talking to people about real estate, what's your opening line? Do you know anybody who's interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate? Boom.
See, sorry, I'm gonna argue that for a second. That drove me nuts.
I use it.
Oh,
That's a good partnership. We're not married.
have conversations with people about something that you've done. And that's why it's important that you come to classes and you hear about stuff, you hold open houses, and you have
Good
conversations. Because anybody you come into contact with,
Our pleasure.
you can tell them a story. And people like stories.